Hello class, my name is Tyler Booth and this is my presentation on hardening recommendations via Windows HTTPS, which is the Windows IIS, and Linux, Apache, and AppArmor. Thank you. Alright, so starting with AppArmor key features. AppArmor is a mandatory access control system core amplification to impound applications to restrict select assets. AppArmor's preservation prototype is the attached verification allocation to applications, alternatively to the end users. AppArmor can transmit. AppArmor has file entrance, which can read, record, connect, lock. AppArmor also has a library packaging, implementation of programs, granted a network, which are the prototype, segmentation, and types. And lastly, the AppArmor uses profiles in two various techniques, which is enforce and complain. AppArmor's key features continue. Configuration process. AppArmor has no open ports. By default, inauguration of Ubuntu server requires prohibited observation of the network's services following the original installation. AppArmor implements password hashing, where the system's access control is utilized for entry to the Ubuntu is reserved in the etc/shadow. Current Ubuntu still adopts the etc/shadow and has utilized MD5 salt hashes for passcode authentication. AppArmor has SYN cookies to assist with alleviating SYN flood hacks. AppArmor's hardening recommendations. Recommendation number 1, Powerful Log. Powerful Log examination tool that displays admission, misconceptions, and assists with extending new regulations to profiles. Hardening recommendation number 2 is the Enforce tool. Enforce tool compels administration towards implementation methods for present preservation. Hardening recommendation number 3 is the Complain tool. Complain tool impels administration towards complaint methods for adjusting aspirations. Next is the Apache 2 key features. Apache is a HTTP computer server that is complementary and a non-proprietary software that supplies online media via the World Wide Web. Apache's web server features include operating in variable files, fileable dynamic programs, .ht access, session trailing, URL rescripting, Perl, PHP, and Lua scripting, adaptability with IPv6. Apache's hardening recommendations. Hardening recommendation number 1, run as an unprivileged user. The fundamental of minimum authorization states the system should not have full access of privileges than what is needed to achieve objectives. This will isolate Apache only to operate with authorization on the system. Hardening recommendation number 2, disable server tokens. HTTP endorses that the network server recognizes directly as the server title. It can be unpleasant when liable documentation is part of the server title. Hardening recommendation number 3. Disable .ht access files. While .ht access files are compelling, that permits Apache to possess disposition expands exterior is predominant configure folder. It proposes a security threat since Apache deciphers every .ht access file it comes across. Next is the Windows IIS key features. Web server. Familiar HTTP characteristics with verted documentation and static media. Security includes requisition, screening, simple in Windows verification process. Programs evolved includes .NET Extensibility 4.5, .NET Extensibility, ASP.NET 4.7, ASP.NET, ISAIP add-on, ISAPI screening, and WebSocket operation. Administration equips includes IIS Management Panel, IIS Management Text and Equipment, and Management Resources. Windows IIS key features continue. CGI configuration on Common Gateway Interface. Programs on the server. Compression supplies a rapid transmission schedule between IIS and condescending authorized browsers. FTP authentication. Customizing the verification process that FTP consumers utilize to acquire admittance to the system. IIS Manager displays the UI appliances that are open on the dominant level of the IIS Manager. Finally, the Microsoft IIS hardening recommendations. Hardening recommendation number 1. Properly configuring web server user/group accounts. IIS promotes embedded consumer and combined accounts devoted to the web. System management can offer implementation privileges to create program structures without having to permit admittance entrance. Hardening recommendation number 2. Utilizing IIS 7's CGI/ISAPI regulations. CGI files.exe with ISAPI amplification.dll constantly remain manipulated in the cyber attacks and needs to be confined while inactive to prevent these attacks. CGI and ISAPI coupled up to construct above IIS in support of prompting, compelling media, or stretching IIS fundamental abilities. Hardening recommendation number 3. Manipulating dynamic IP limitations. Dynamic IP addresses limitations utilize the supplicant's IP address with the host name to regulate whichever to confine entry. And these are my references. Thank you.